how you're going to pay for those.
Well, I mean, you just look at it in terms of what we are talking about, for example, around children and the child tax credit and extending the EITC. It's at $6,000 for the first year of a child's life. The return on that investment in terms of what that will do and what it will pay for will be tremendous. And then what we're doing in terms of the tax credits, we know that there's a great return on that investment. And when we increase home ownership in America, what that means in terms of increasing the tax base, not to mention property tax base, what that does to fund schools, again, return on investment. I think it's a mistake for any person who talks about public policy to not critically evaluate how you measure the return on investment when you are strengthening neighborhoods.
That was Vice President Kamala Harris attempting to explain how she will pay for her economic plans, which are estimated to cost $1.7 trillion added to the national debt. Harris said return on investment 4 times while trying to answer the question. Democrat lawmakers now reportedly pushing Harris to hold off on talking about any more policies until after the November election. Amazingly, even the Washington Post is slamming Harris's price-fixing proposal, releasing these 2 pieces. The Times demand serious economic ideas. Harris supplies gimmicks. And then this one, when your opponent calls you a communist, maybe don't propose price controls. Joining me now is Florida Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart. He's a member of the House Appropriations Committee and the chairman of the Subcommittee on State, Foreign Operations and Related Programs. Congressman, thanks so much for being here. What is your expectation and a sort of assessment of Kamala Harris's economic agenda?
Well, look, this agenda has been tried before in different countries many, many times. You can look at Venezuela now, you can look at Argentina of the past, and every time what it brings is higher prices, inflation, and then higher interest rates. And so, again, it's been tried. This is another economic fiasco. Now, remember that what she is saying is that the person who, in essence, brought inflation through the Inflation Reduction Act, that so-called Inflation Reduction Act, now she wants to determine how much businesses can earn. Government will decide if you're earning too much or too little. In essence, it is the takeover of the American economy, something that should frighten the heck out of each and every one of us.
I mean, it really wasn't much of an economic agenda, frankly. I mean, she's talking about a federal ban on food price fixing, on what she calls price gouging. She's talking about a $25,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers, but there's really nothing that is showing us what her North Star is and sort of her, thinking in terms of how to grow an economy. She's talking about holding companies to account. So where is the growth plan here?
There is no growth plan. It's basically taking over the economy, having government taking over the economy, something that will bring scarcity and higher prices. Again, it's been tried before. So even though she doesn't have a lot of details, just the basic principle that government will determine how much a company, a business should make. And then that determination will be made, I don't know, by her. She will decide then how much a company should make. Is really, really frightening. Look, she's right. She's trying to reshape the American economy in her vision and under her control. And that is a really, really scary proposition. It's been tried. It is a failure, and it guarantees scarcity, higher prices, and uber inflation.
Yeah, well, look, Florida Democrats are attending the Democrat National Convention in Chicago this week, are reportedly hoping to convince top donors and officials that Florida is back in play in the presidential election. I want to get your take on this. The Harris campaign hired tens of thousands of new volunteers in the state. However, last week, registered Republican voters surpassed registered Democrats by 1 million. Governor Ron DeSantis has been on with me many times telling me that there are more Republicans in Florida than Democrats. The chairwoman of the Florida Democrat Party, however, is warning that Republicans are sleeping on Florida at their own peril, Congressman. What do you think when you look at Florida in terms of where voters are?
Well, first place, we should never take it for granted. And none of us in Florida, no Republican in Florida is taking it for granted. And we're seeing, again, the Democrats, the left, and their allies spending money in the state of Florida. However, I don't think Floridians are confused or will be confused. We have some important elections. Senator Rick Scott is up for re-election. Let me tell you what I expect is I expect him to do exceedingly well, but not because he's taking it for granted, but because he's working it. All of us are working it. I think you're going to see a strong victory by President Trump. by Rick Scott and a number of other people. But it's precisely because Florida has been working at this for many, many years, and a lot of credit has to be given to President Trump and also to Governor Ron DeSantis.
Yeah. What about the migrant crisis? I mean, we've got illegals in Chicago this week, and of course, it's in focus with the DNC. Nearly 47,000 illegal immigrants have arrived in Chicago since 2022. Migrant care has cost the state a total of $460 million. The co-chair of the Harris-Walz campaign, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, was asked about the tickets planned for immigration. Watch this.
He signed into law initiatives allowing undocumented immigrants to apply for driver's licenses, free tuition at public universities, and enroll in the state's free health care program for low-income residents. Would you like to see the Harris administration adopt those same policies, Governor?
Well, I can tell you, Tim Walz is a pragmatic guy. He's a Midwesterner just like me, and I think some of the wonderful things he's done in Minnesota resonate with, Americans in all states.
Congressman, what do you make of Tim Walz's record in Minnesota?
Yeah, it's pretty dismal. I mean, remember, I believe it was his wife that said that she liked to open the windows to smell the burning of the city when thugs were actually burning parts of the city. It's pretty clear, by the way, when you're dealing with the southern border, it's worse than the fact that they opened up the southern border than they did. But it's even worse than that. They gave control of who comes in, what comes in, at what price across the southern border to the Mexican narco cartels. It is inhumane. It is a violation of the rule of law. And it is a clear national security threat. And now, if you like how the southern border has been dealt with by Kamala Harris, wait until she is in control of the entire economy of the United States. Look, we're going to work hard so it doesn't happen. They have been catastrophic for the country. It has been catastrophic for the southern border and for the entire country. And we cannot permit Vice President Harris to now reshape the entire U.S. economy in her image, which would be disastrous for every single American family, every business, every individual in this amazing country of ours.
Yeah, he's certainly a big fan of tax increase. He's got among the highest taxes in the entire country there in Minnesota, including a death tax. Congressman, we're going to be keeping a spotlight on it all. Thanks very much for being here this morning. Mario Diaz-Balart joining us this morning. Thank you, sir.